All right, so I have this question here from Michael. And Michael is asking, Sir, what is the basis of success? And what are the things that can make one to be regarded as a successful person? We basically see money as the reference point for success. Can one truly succeed without having enough money? All right, thank you very much for that question, Michael. And Michael is asking a question on the correlation between money and success and what is the basis of success. Can one be considered truly successful if you do not have a lot of money? Can you be said to be successful without money? I truly think the answer is pretty simple. You can be successful without money. Money is not the basis for success. Money sometimes can be an evidence of perceived success, can be an evidence of what people perceive as success. But money and success can be mutually exclusive. Success is not restricted to money. You can find somebody with no money that is incredibly successful. Whenever we restrict success to money, what we try to say is that little children cannot be successful. And that's not true. Little children, a lot of them don't have money. So we kind of restrict success to a particular time when you can earn. But that's not true. Success is a very serious subject matter. And a lot of people have this mentality that success and money must be tethered together. You understand? So for you to be perceived as successful, you must have money. So the issue a lot of people have with success is not per se whether or not they feel successful. When the biggest issue people have with success is whether or not they are perceived as successful. So a lot of people are more conscious about how people perceive them as successful rather than whether they feel successful. But then I will let you know that money is not restricted, or success is not restricted to money. A lot of times when you set out to do something and you are able to get it done, that can be said to be success. If I set out to record this podcast and I'm able to carry this podcast to the end and deliver my message, I've succeeded in creating a podcast and put it out there and answering someone's question. No money has been exchanged. It has not affected my bank balance. In no way, my bank balance remains the same. But then I've succeeded in doing something. So you can see how success is not particularly restricted to money. If my son, who loves to draw, sets out to draw a comic, I was asking him this morning, what does he plan to do today? He said he wants to finish his comic. If he finishes his comic today, he has succeeded. But nobody has paid him. He doesn't even have a bank account, you understand? So I can't say that he has earned any money or anything like that. No money has exchanged hands. The young boy, his measure of success is number one, achieving that thing that is set out to do. So success is not tethered to money. It isn't. A lot of times, success in itself is an internal validation. Is more of an internal validation than an external validation. Success is an internal validation, not an external validation. A lot of us try to prove success That's why we feel success must come with money. We try to prove it. It's very hard to prove success. Just like it's very hard to prove happiness. Happiness is an internal validation. You know you are happy. In trying to prove it to other people, you might dance, you might shout, you might jump. You understand? But a lot of times we do those things sometimes to prove to other people, but then in your inside, you are the one that knows whether you're happy or not, because some people jump on the outside, but really inside they're not happy. They can feign happiness. The same thing too, we can feign success by buying the shiny stuff and trying to prove to other people that we can afford this. So this makes us successful. Our bank balance is now this. So this makes us successful. But success, I would have you know again, is an internal validation. The majority of success is what goes on your inside. External things, especially money, are not a good measure or way of judging whether somebody is successful. It's a good measure of judging achievement, external things, that you achieve something. So my son right now, if he finishes drawing his comics, he can show me his comic to show me he has achieved. But how he feels about what he's done, I can never know. He can always conceal that from me because that's on his inside. I can show you how many podcasts I've created this year already. And that's people might see that as an achievement. Oh, already you have done this much content, answered this many questions, talked about this many subject matter. But then a lot of people might envy the achievement and the kind of thing that translates to an internal validation within me. I might achieve that much, but on the inside, I still have a feeling of not doing anything, a feeling of emptiness. My son might draw his comic, but deep inside, he still has a feeling of emptiness. I've watched sports before, a lot of times the Olympics, where you see someone win a bronze medal and another person win a gold medal. And you see that the person that wins a bronze medal seems, because I can't say what's going on in the inside of a person, seems to be more jubilant than the person that wins a gold medal. Because the person that wins a gold medal might have a gold medal in their hand as an achievement, to always be on record that they won a gold medal for that event. But then on their inside, they still feel a sense of emptiness. For me, success in itself is measured by how much you can overcome that feeling of emptiness on your inside. I'll say that again. My definition of success is the person's ability to dispel that feeling of emptiness on your inside. And that's why I say nobody can tell you whether you are successful or not, only you. People can say whether you achieved, but you are the only one that can say whether you are successful. You see, I realized that this question about success and money, a lot of people ask this question and they feel insecure about their success, so they try to prove it with achievement. Because a lot of people do not study people. A lot of us do not study people. We study a lot of subject matter like science, math, technology, finances, stuff like that, sports, entertainment, but we do not study people. We do not study people. The most interesting book in the world is the book called A Human Being. The most interesting book in the world, the most enlightening book in the world is the book called A Human Being. There's nothing that teaches us better than that book called A Human Being. And that's why when you read the Bible, say God was the Word, Jesus was the Word, but the Word had to become flesh so that it can be more articulate. Jesus was the Word of God, but then he had to become flesh so that we can better understand the Word. The human being is the most insightful, enlightening book. You see, the scripture that says, teach us to number our days so that we can apply our hearts to wisdom. You see, we are meant to number our days like a book is numbered. When you number your days and you read the pages of this book called your life, you'll get more understanding. And when you see each human being as a book that you read, and you read their past pages, present pages, future page, you understand? You'll get more enlightenment. You see, whenever you are blessed in a generation, one of the biggest gifts you have are people that have lived in the generation before you and have died. A lot of people do not take advantage of those people because those are complete books. A lot of people that you are living with are books that are still in writing. You don't know how they end. But the books that have come before you, you are so lucky to have them because you can read their book from beginning to the end. And that's why when you read the Psalms, David said one thing. He said he used to envy terrible, wicked people till he saw their end. When we start reading people and being interested in people like books, we become wiser. I thank God because God has given me the innate interest in people. I love people. I love watching. I love studying people. And that's why I did so well when I was doing branding, corporate branding. I understand how people react and what they react to. I listen to people. One of the best pages I love to go to was Wikipedia. I love Wikipedia. I watch a lot of documentaries on people, especially people that have come and gone. If we were to do a quiz, whenever it's about people, I can tell you who the people are. I have a major interest in people. I see people like books. So I read them a lot and I learn from them. And why am I saying this? A lot of times, a lot of us think success is about achievement. So we assume that once somebody is successful and they have achievement, or let me put it this way, once someone has an achievement, we immediately assume that they are happy. We immediately assume that they are happy. Once someone has a major achievement, we immediately assume that the person is happy. It's a big frustration for celebrities. This is the biggest source of emptiness that celebrities feel. That they've achieved something and we feel they're happy. At the time I'm doing this recording, yesterday, Tems, a Nigerian singer, won the Grammy Award. And a lot of people are happy for her and they assume that she's happy. Wherever Tems is right now, she's going to get a lot of congratulatory messages. A lot of people say, I'm so happy for you. Oh, congratulations. Oh, this, you are so lucky, and stuff like that. We assume she's happy because she has this award, this artifact in her hand. We just assume that because she has achieved that, wherever she is right now, she's the happiest person in the world. And I was reading a book once. I can't remember what book it was I was reading, but then I would have recommended it. But in that book, the person wrote, it was a woman, and she said one of the biggest frustrations human beings have is this thing. When we achieve, we assume that the person that has achieved is happy. So she said there was a time she was working in a company, in one of these technology companies, and she was promoted to, I think, was it president? She was VP, promoted to president, or made VP of the company. And everybody came. They made a cake for her. Everybody was coming and telling her, "Oh, you're so lucky. Oh, we're so happy for you. You're such a lucky woman." And she said that everybody came to congratulate her. But then a man came that was working in the same organization with her, and he shook her hand and he asked her one question and said that was the most important thing that gave her clarity. He didn't say congratulations. He didn't say how lucky she was. He didn't say how much he envied her. He asked her just one thing. He asked her, "How do you feel?" He said that room was full of hundreds of people, but only one person asked her how she felt. He asked her, "How do you feel?" And at that moment, she had an epiphany. She realized she felt empty. She realized she didn't feel happy. She felt scared. She felt she was going up a ladder that she didn't really want to go. She felt like she hated every single day of her working there, but here she was moving up the ladder, committing more of her years to that same work that she hated. And she said that question gave her clarity, and she knew what she had to do. She quit her job at the very top of the job. And she went to find what she really wanted to do with her life. One question gave clear perspective. So a lot of times when people achieve, you see, we assume they are happy. And the first indoctrination we have of this is in school. The school system teaches us that achievement is success. How many times does someone turn first position and they ask them, "How do you feel?" How many times does someone do well in class and they ask how you feel? They just call them out, give them a lot of awards. The principal goes on about how good they are doing. Even in university, the university celebrates them, 5.0 GPA. But very few people ask those people how they feel. Success is about fulfillment. Achievement is about acquisition. Fulfillment is an internal thing. Acquisition is an external thing. And one thing you would find out is that acquisition doesn't automatically earn fulfillment. Acquisition doesn't automatically give us fulfillment. And I will tell you what gives fulfillment. But first, I'll give you some examples of some high achievers that evidently were not fulfilled. Now, some of what I would say right now might sound morbid, but then please, I want to make this point. As I said, I spend a lot of time studying people and learning about people. I recently watched a documentary on Netflix. It's called I Am Team. I Am Team. It's a documentary that chronicles the life of a Swedish man, a Swedish DJ called Avicii. Avicii was a very successful DJ. From a very young age, he found what we call success. He achieved a lot. On the outside, we saw him as very successful, high achieving. As a DJ, he was one of the few people that made DJing mainstream. A DJ was always someone that was in the background. But then Avicii came and he made DJing a thing. DJs actually became celebrities. People went to shows to watch a DJ play music. He hardly sang in any of his songs, but he was able to draw a lot of people, a lot of global superstars to feature on its songs. In fact, people felt privileged that he was calling them. He was a very young man, achieved a lot as a DJ from a very early age. But then he took his own life. One day, got on a plane, traveled to Oman, went to a hotel, broke glass and slit his wrist in a hotel room and died. He had a lot of money. He was at the height of his career. Financially, he had achieved a lot. Externally, people saw him as successful, but obviously he wasn't fulfilled. You see, we don't study people enough like books, so we don't listen to what they say like we are reading the lines of a book. He made a statement once. He said, "I was happier when I had no money than now that I have all the money." A lot of times when people say that, people think these people are just saying it. They just feel obligated to say that. We don't understand that those people are crying out for help. Avicii took his own life at the age of, I think, 28 or so. 28, he wasn't up to 30. He took his own life in a hotel room alone. He felt empty. Was Avicii successful? There is a man, or was a man, called Robin Williams. Well, Robin Williams, comedian, very funny man. He made comedy look easy. Acted in a lot of blockbuster movies, chart-topping movies, box office movies that were grossing a lot of money. He had a lot of influence. As a matter of fact, when I was reading the book Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson, they wanted to get Robin Williams to do a voiceover for an Apple ad. You know, this Apple ad, the one that was talking about this is for the rebellious ones or things like that. You know, he was the one they wanted to get. But his bill was too high. His bill was too high. That's how A-class he was as an actor. That the whole Apple, the organization, was saying his bill was higher than their advertising budget. To get one man to read some lines. You see, this man won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in a movie called Good Will Hunting. At that time, he didn't have a lot of people, comedians in his category winning Academy Awards, but he won it. An Academy Award is the highest award an actor can win. The highest. It's branded that way. The highest award. He won it. But then one day we woke up to the news that this man was found hanging in his house. He had hanged himself. He achieved a lot, but on the inside felt empty. Was Robin Williams really successful? There's a man called Chester Bennington. Chester Bennington was the lead singer of a group called Linkin Park. This group was a rock group, and they were at the height of their career. Chart topping, world touring, album selling group. They were doing very well, achieving a lot, selling out stadiums, receiving plaques for how good their albums were doing. They were the number one rock group in the world at a point in time. One day, Chester Bennington took his family out, or took his family away to a nice place for vacation. And they were vacationing, him, wife, children. And he said he had to go back home to do some work. So he left them there and said he was going back home. He got home, went into his house, and hanged himself. Achieved a lot, but felt empty on the inside. Was Chester Bennington successful? There's a designer called Alexander McQueen. At the point, Alexander McQueen was the one dictating the fashion of the world. He was the go-to man. The go-to man. The British designer. At the top of fashion design. Incredibly talented. Incredibly. He had royalty eating out of his hands. He dictated what world fashion was going to be. One day, we got the news, hanged himself in his closet. You see, success, as I said, is your ability to dispel the feeling of emptiness on your inside. That's why it's called fulfillment. Is the feeling or a full feeling within you where you feel complete. It is not money that completes us. You can only have that full feeling with an awareness of God. Nothing in this world can fill you like the awareness of God being with you. The most fulfilling feeling in the world, or the most fulfilling thing in the world, is surrender to God. Is surrender to God. People will say this thing a lot, but people never believe. They still think it's money that fulfills. But I can go on and on. I just wanted to stop with the people I've mentioned. There are so many of them. This Philip Seymour Hoffman, won Best Actor for a movie in Capote. Before you know it, dead. OD'd, overdosed, died with a needle in his hands. Obviously felt empty. There are so many of them. So many of them through history. The other day, I heard of a man jumped off a building. This man was VP and had some, I think even president, CEO of some companies in Nigeria. Jumped off a balcony, died. Just yesterday, my wife was telling me about a, I think 38-year-old or 36-year-old cardiologist, Nigerian cardiologist in the US. He's 30-something-year-old and is already a cardiologist. He's a consultant already. Those guys earn a lot of money. But he shot himself in front of his wife and kids. Ended his own life. Was he successful? He had a lot of money. Cardiologists have money. He achieved something at a very young age. Was he successful? I'm watching a series right now. It's called Manhunt, the O.J. Simpson case. O.J. Simpson achieved a lot. As a football player, achieved a lot. As an actor, achieved a lot. Had so many brand endorsements. But in the end, his life got skewed, accused of brutally killing his wife. Accused of, even though he was acquitted in the long run. But his life was never the same. In the end, went to jail for armed robbery. A man that achieved so much, life distorted, tumultuous relationship with his wife, estranged from his children. Was O.J. Simpson truly successful? Success is an inner validation, not an outer expression. You do not prove to people that you are successful. It's something you know on your inside. You can never prove success. You just know it. Success is about having an infilling of God and God's presence in your life. You see, there's a character in the Bible called Joseph. Joseph went through a lot of things. His brothers planned to kill him. They ended up selling him. He worked as a servant. He was accused of sexual molestation, thrown in prison. But he said at every single time, God was with him. He was aware at every single time that God was with him. So at every single time when his brothers wanted to kill him, he felt successful. When he was being sold, he felt successful. When he was in Potiphar's house, he felt successful. When he was wrongfully accused, he felt successful. When he was in jail, he felt successful because he always felt God's presence with him. Success is about knowing that you have God's approval. It's about being aware of God's approval. It's not about how much you have in your bank account. It's not even about being in good health. It's not about all those things. It's about knowing in your heart that you have God's approval, that God is with you, that expression you just did or just performed was an expression of God. I talked about my son drawing today. The feeling of fulfillment he will have is after drawing, he feels like he has actually released God's presence. He feels like he has done God's work. He feels like it has been a good day. It doesn't matter how many podcasts I make or how many questions I answer. If after answering the questions, I do not feel like God is smiling down at me and is proud of me, I am not successful. I might have achieved a lot, but success comes from when you go to bed at night. You actually feel that God is embracing you and telling you, well done, you've done well. That is how I feel every time I record. It's a feeling of warmth. It's a feeling that dispels emptiness. I've had a lot in my bank account and I've had very little. And I can tell you that times when I had a lot in my bank account, I felt pretty empty. And sometimes when I had very little in my bank account, I felt very fulfilled. Fulfillment is the measure of success, not achievement, not acquisition, not money. You can have acquisition and not be fulfilled. Fulfillment is the measure of success. I believe somebody really needs to hear this. Fulfillment is the measure of success. I say this a lot and I'll say it again here. When I was in Canada, it was a great place. Electricity was constant. Water was available. Roads were good. Products were available. You understand? Food was good, was okay. You understand? It was a beautiful place. Beautiful. But then I felt empty there. But then every time I spoke to people back in Nigeria, they were always congratulating me about being in Canada and telling me how lucky I was. But then I felt empty. I felt an emptiness in Canada that I'd never felt in my life before. I felt empty. I felt lonely. I'll never forget a day I went to Niagara Falls, full of people, tourists everywhere, activity lights everywhere. But that was one of my saddest days in Canada. I felt so lonely in the midst of so many smiling people. They all seemed like mannequins to me. I didn't feel any warmth. You see, fulfillment is a feeling of inner warmth, like someone lights a fire within you that makes you feel warm and cuddled inside. I didn't feel that warmth in Canada. I remember calling my dad one day and telling him I want to come home, and I was crying. I remember that day. I was crying. I looked around me. It was such a picturesque scene. Picturesque scene. It looked like a painting. I'll never forget that day. It was spring, one of the most beautiful seasons. I could see the grass on the floor. I could see the trees beginning to bloom. It was so beautiful. But in that beauty, I felt empty. Interestingly enough, when I came back to Nigeria, epileptic power supply, bad roads, water supply is terrible. I felt that warmth again. I cannot explain it to anybody, but I felt fulfilled. When I walk around my area in Nigeria, sometimes I see some things not filled with scenic beauty. You see nylon bags on the floor, flowing gutters, terrible drainage, bad roads. But then in the midst of that, I feel warmth. Sometimes when I just want to feel good, I just go outside my house and I sit down and I watch people walk around and I actually see life. They actually feel like people. That's something I didn't get in Canada. I used to see people, but they didn't feel like people. They felt like trees. There was no emotion, no connection. But here, just sitting down outside my house, I just see people and I feel a connection. I feel I'm in my environment. I feel fulfilled here. A lot of you are envying people because of their achievements, not knowing that they feel so unfulfilled. Success is not about achievement. It's not about location. It's not about where they are, how they look good in their photos, what the background looks like, how fresh their skin is. All those external things don't matter. It's the internal thing that matters. The internal thing that nobody can see. So for Michael, you are the only one that can say whether you are successful or not. You are the only one. Do you feel that inner fulfillment within you? Do you feel that God's approval within you? Whether your bank account is full or whether it's empty. Do you feel complete? Do you feel warm on the inside? I hope this makes sense to somebody. But that's what it truly means to be successful. Success comes from God. Success comes from God. See, there's a part in the Bible, Proverbs 16. It says, commit your actions to the Lord and your plans will be successful. Only God can give you success. What does that mean? That when you commit your ways to the God, He will make your plans successful. It says that those things that you plan to do, like my son plans to draw this morning, I plan to answer this question. After doing it, you would feel fulfilled. It's not particularly talking about it will make you a lot of money. No. It will get you a lot of influence. No. It will make you popular. No. When God says He will crown it with success, He's talking majorly about your inside. You will feel fulfilled. You would feel complete. That is what true success is. Success is not an acquisition. Success is a feeling of oneness and a sense of approval from God.